Ah, hallo, ich heiße Peckernat Ryan Debar. This is Peckernat Ryan Debar. It's been a while since I made a video for a couple reasons. One, ich werde opioids. I had an operation. I successfully survived an operation in a foreign country, convalesced here by myself in my little old flat, and I'm back in business now. But also, I got a Linux desktop, and the first couple programs that I played around with to do recordings just weren't that great. But I seem to be doing all right now. Um, I want to talk about this fire in Northview. Eventually, I'm going to put out some more interesting videos, maybe with some graphics and stuff, but my skill level on this technology is just not there yet. The fire in Northview is very sad, of course. You never want to hear about people losing their family heirlooms in a fire or for any reason. It's sad. And a sadder thing is that you hear them complain, the anger in their voice about, we complained about this and the city of Clarksburg did nothing. I mean, a painful truth is Clarksburg's lost a lot of population. And I don't think it had to be as bad as it has been. Had it been better run over the years. That being said, the path forward, it's hard to come back from. You've lost over half of your people. You have an enormous amount of abandoned houses, and you have a very serious drug problem. I believe Councilman Jackson, who he worked for the health board, said, for a while, Clarksburg, West Virginia was the city in the world with the most heroin overdoses, fatal overdoses of any city in the world, over 10,000 people. And you think about that, higher overdose rate, at least documented overdose rate, than places like, India or Southeast Asia. It's profound how bad the situation is there. And I guess even sadder than that is there things that could have been done and could be done to at least mitigate the problem. Not solve it, but you can mitigate the problem. And the reality is that those things are hard. They're not perfect. And politicians over the years, being what they are, always want to promise the easy path forward. Because even if they get in the office and they start telling you the truth, they're always going to be challenged by someone out there who promises a quick, easy fix. And unfortunately, that's just not the way life goes. It reminded me of a situation about 4 years ago during the city council election of the people that I refer to as, yellow vests, where the very highly regarded former mayor, Ryan Kennedy, said, we've got our demo list down to zero. And at the time, even privately, I said, why are you spending all this money out of our rainy day fund, draining it to zero? Well, we're doing it for public safety. And he just bragged and gloated about, we got the demo list that had just been allowed to go into the hundreds of homes, like 200 homes we've demolished in the last 2 years, more than Kathy Goings was ever allowed to do. Demo list is down to zero, and we just have to maintain it there, and we're in good shape. And then it happened. That house up there above, I guess right above Billy's Bar, next to the print shop that does like large engineering, graphic printing, it caught fire and burned down. A massive fire that shut down Milford Street. And one of the Peckernats was there and witnessed it, my fellow Peckernats, and saw the apparently drug-addicted people run out of the home or towards another abandoned house. And she started asking questions. And the response to her from the family and their associates was really hostile. And I think the reason is they knew that demo was not the fix for the city. I think they thought it was a good thing to do, but I think there was a little bit of awareness there that they were selling snake oil. And they just attacked her. But the more they attacked her, the more people out in the community started reaching out to her and talking about things. For example, we have the McGlumphy Funeral Home, and I went there and I met the owners, or the parents of the owner, and walked through the building, and I looked at their documents, and what that building was put on the demolition for was it was structurally unsound, and all that was is a crack in the drywall. This flat that I live in probably has a crack in the drywall. I don't think it does, but it's been rehabbed. Probably has a paint crack somewhere. A building that old is going to have one. And then the structural exterior instability, they said, was a crack in the marble in the front of the building. That marble was not part of the support of the building. It was just put there for, visual effect. It looked pretty. That warranted a demolition of like $300,000, and unfortunately during that demolition an old man was killed by a dump truck in a horrible accident there. A life was lost. And then you have your sycophants of the city, or your people who for whatever reason feel the need to puff the city council. Oh, it looks so much better there. Really? Then why was it 6 months later that the people in the neighborhood started complaining about the house across the street that was in much worse shape and had been let go for years and years and years? It's who you know. It's who you are. It's who you know. And who you're related to. Everybody knows that. And then you had I think Genesis Youth Center, the old Catholic orphanage up there, Chestnut Street. I've been gone from Clarksburg long enough that sometimes I really have to think about names of streets and stuff like that. I don't know whether that's good or bad. A home beside it burned, but not all the way down. And for some reason, the utilities weren't disconnected, which is weird. So people in the neighborhood were tapping into the power, and it was sparking, and we're like, that house is going to catch fire again. Enough attention was raised that they didn't end up demolishing that house. But the citizens could look around the town, and there was any number of homes that were burnt-out shells that were never demolished, but the demo list was down to 0. Well, the reason was they decided, well, we could demolish more homes if we just don't touch the ones that are burnt-out shells. They're more expensive to demolish, so we just leave them alone. They already burned down. And the council denied it. People on council denied it until the city engineer said, well, yeah, that's what you told us to do. Said it in a meeting. It's recorded. You could go back and find it. Anyway, attached to Genesis Youth Center property was a old garage where the roof was literally caved in. Literally, roof was caved in. And there was all this paint and different kind of chemicals like varnish and wood strip, like floor stripper and stuff like that, just piled up, or had been pried open, and it was just a massive fire waiting to happen, and they'd never really done anything with the landowner. And then the center itself had over a dozen, probably 2 dozen at times, what we call backpackers living in it. These would be people who are homeless and most likely addicted to methamphetamine, fentanyl, a fire waiting to happen, and everyone knew it. And the city came out and did cite the building owner, and then they said, well, if you're going to call us out and we have to cite a building, we're going to cite every violation we see. So they cited a neighbor of this building who'd been putting up with this mess for months, for having a couple bags of leaves leaning up against a garage at the end of a dead-end street, because that's yard waste. It's not supposed to be disposed of that way. Well, it was out because he was waiting on a city to come along and collect it, and they never did. But they don't care about that. They said, we can come out again and inspect you again and cite you for more stuff. They were mad that they had to do their job. That happened. That actually happened. And we all know that kind of stuff happens in Clarksburg. And that's the problem. You can blame slumlords all you want. And I don't necessarily let them off the hook. But there's been massive population loss. What do you expect to happen to these people? Or to these homes. Poor people, old people, they die and they don't have any kids, or the kids are out of state. What do you expect to happen to these houses? Point the blame at like slumlords when the city does the things that it does. It's an outrage. Is there something that could be done? Well, you could board these houses. You could board probably 30 houses or more for the cost of one demolition. I've done the math. I've done videos in the past about this. And in fact, the Peckernats wanted to form a group that would do that. And highly regarded former city manager Harry Folk said no. He came up with some really dumb excuses that they're BS. He knew they were BS. I knew they were BS. And he knows that we know they were BS. But he just wasn't going to do it. It was insulting. Because, well, that's not what my bosses on city council want me to do. That's not the easy way out. That's going to show up the people who won the election and make, Brett Imperial or whoever look better. That's what it was. And then we have the current discussion of, well, the city came out and Northview did some inspections and the citizens whined, and maybe if they hadn't whined, they would have done something about this building. The citizens complained because the city comes out and instead of dealing with the problems, cites people for leaving their trash bin on a sidewalk too long. They cite people, because their grass is 7 inches high instead of 5. You know what I'm saying is true, and you know that that's the problem. And everybody up there on the city council knows that that's the problem, and the city manager knows that that's the problem. Well, maybe she does, I don't know. And everybody knows that this is a problem, and it's not getting fixed, which is why we're right back to where it starts again. And I don't know what to tell you, but you have to stop accepting the easy answers. You have to stop pointing the finger at other people. You have to just expect basic good government, not these fancy things you can build like a splash pad in another town. How about boarding the houses up? How about buying a vac truck to vacuum our sewers out so the city they would have never got so bad that required the streets to be tore up? How about a couple more code enforcement officers that are paid adequately and not vindictive? There's so much that could be done. And I feel like I'm rambling, but I had to get this off my chest. Have a blessed evening or day, and I'll holler at you later. And I don't want to promise, but I hope the next time I will not be talking about this kind of stuff. Maybe a little bit more interesting. Good night.